Here in the Adzon craft room today we are going to make this lovely Easter rabbit. It is a project on the Brother Canvas worksite. It is number 34. However, we have made a few alterations, or say with a twist today, because we have used felt all the way through and we have heat pressed our vinyl onto the felt, which gives it a lovely waterproof coating on the outside. The original size of this rabbit is quite small. This is the original size. We have sized it up to 40%, and it's really a lovely size to give as a gift. What will you need for this project? Well, first of all, you will need your felt. Right, now felt comes in various types. You have your merino wool felt and you have your acrylic felt, which is sort of like a craft felt. So we have used both today. So we have our merino wool felt that we've used for the flowers here. So we can show you how to use the different felts. With the acrylic felt, you do need to have it backed with your applique adhesive. That is on the instructions, to put that on the back. Otherwise it is very fluffy and furry. You don't get as nice a cut as with that. Okay, so I have bought this by the meter and not just those flimsy sheets, A4 sheets of the acrylic. I did buy this as a much better quality. Okay, we do need to have our adhesive vinyl. So we have used, for this one, we've used the polka dots fashion and the pastel flowers and the plain pink vinyl, heat transfer vinyl. We are going to showcase today the Rotary Blade. Right? Now the Rotary Blade does come with the new model ScanNCut machine. However, all you people who already have a DX, it is only for DX machines, you can buy the kit, okay, which does give you the Rotary Blade, and you will also get an activation card and access to the 63 patterns. What else will you need for this project? You'll need your cords for his arm and legs. So make sure you get a cord. This is just a macrame cord that is sort of like a plaited, not the twisted cord. So with the twisted cords you can't get your wire through properly. Okay, so you do need some fine wire, like a floristry wire. For the stem of the flower we just used a chenille, I call them pipe cleaners, but they have another name for those chenille wire cover things. Okay, you'll need some fibre fill for stuffing your rabbit, and some of these Chinese sticks for, you can use a knitting needle for poking your fibre fill in. A couple of other things: a pair of pliers for cutting your wire, a universal pen holder, and a fine Sharpie pen, because we just did the face markings with the pen, and some embroidery floss for doing of the features here for his hands and his feet. There is also some little beads for the flowers. We are now going to heat transfer our vinyl onto our felt. So we just cut our pieces to the size that we don't need to be cutting big pieces with our felt. And we just leave that cool because it is a cool peel. So we'll just go through and do each of our colours. And then we'll be ready to cut. Now we have put our vinyl backed felt onto our mat. Now when we do this, make sure you put the vinyl side down onto your mat. We're just using the normal standard mat here, and we have loaded our patterns onto our USB because in Canvas Workspace we enlarged it all up to 40% to make the larger rabbit. So I'll go in here and retrieve my patterns. So we're going to cut the body, or I call the dress pieces, first. Okay, now I'm going to move, so I don't have to delete stuff and all that sort of thing on the screen. I'm going to move those down the bottom, and I will cut the top piece first. Now I'm just going to rotate that around so that it fits neatly up into this area here, so that we're not wasting too much of our felt. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a test cut, just to make sure. So we go across to cut into our spanner. Now what I'm going to do first is make sure I've got half cut turned off, because we need to cut right through. We're not just doing half cutting on our vinyl like we normally do. So that's all turned off, and our rotary blade setting is on normal, so that's all good. And we will press test, and we will select a test cut here. I've gone for the triangle here. I'll just pop it in here because we're doing shapes similar to the triangle. Test cuts are important. And there is my triangle cleanly cut out. Beautiful. Okay, so we can now go ahead and cut out the little top piece of our dress, which is also the body of the rabbit. Beautiful. Okay, so that is most beautifully clean cut piece of vinyl backed felt. We will go ahead now and we will do each of the other pieces. This is a good idea when your mat's not quite sticky enough, and also too when you're using pieces like we are here, is to use some painter's tape. Just, you don't want things moving on your mat. Okay, now the next piece we'll cut will be the pink spot. Alright, so we will come back here. We'll do a background scan now of our fabric. darken that background up, that's better. Okay, we don't need you now, so we can pop you in the bin. We'll get the middle piece here, and I'll just rotate you around. Pop you in. Okay, so there we have our next part. So these will all layer like this later on when we come to put it together. Now with the bottom piece, we also do need to cut a back so that we have a back body as well as a front. So we'll put our floral on. Cut this one, I think. So we'll delete that piece. Okay, now I'll just go back and put my full screen back because I put those bits down the bottom so we didn't cut them. I've put that back now to the full screen. So we need this piece here and we need this here. That'll be for the back and this one will be for the bottom on the front. So we'll do a background scan again so we can see our material. And we'll just do a little bit of rotating here with our pieces. I'll pop you in there. And we'll pop you down. I might rotate you around too. Pop you in there. I like to get the most out of my material here without too much wastage, if we can. Okay. Alright, so we will go ahead now and we'll cut these out. So we'll get all our cutting done. So that's for, I call it the dress or the body part. So then we have our head, our feet, our hands, and then of course the flowers. We also have the ears to do. So there's our back, and then we'll have the bottom piece over here for the front. So there's our 3 pieces here for the front, and then this is our body piece for the back. We will be using a sewing machine to sew all these bits together later on. Okay. Alright, so we need to do our ears next. Go into our pattern area again. Okay, so now we have all our other pieces here. So because we've done the vinyl on the felt, we don't need to cut 2 lots of ears because we're not using fabric, we're not stitching it and turning it. This is a very, very shortcut way to do things. So we'll just eliminate one of the ears. We only need to cut one. We have our heads there, and then we have all our flowers, etc. So what I'm going to do now is we will pop all those up out of the way, because we're going to just cut out our one ear. So we'll do background scan to see where our fabric is. Okay, now we will pop all our bits up the top there out of the way. And then we'll just crop our area down so we don't have to delete stuff off our screen. Okay, now we'll just rotate our ears. Just move it across so it's centered on our fabric. Okay, and we can now go and cut our ears out. So what you can see there is all those bits I've got at the top are not showing, it's only just the ear. So you don't have to delete stuff off your screen, just move them up, crop your mat area, and then we can move them back. Okay, so there we have our ears. That's it, we're not cutting a second one, and that will be the ears with the white on the back for the felt. Makes life very easy using felt with the vinyl attached. Less sewing to do as well. Alright, now the next bits we have to do will be our face and our hands. Okay, so we'll just go back here. Alright, so we'll delete our ear off the screen because we don't need that anymore. We will now put our cut area back so we can see all our pieces up here. Okay, so we've got our face. We need 2 of those. Okay, the flowers, I'm going to put the flowers down the bottom out of the way, and then we'll move all this other up. Okay, so the flowers will be cut separately in the colour, so we'll just crop that bottom area of our mat up. Okay, so they're out of the cut area, can't be seen down the bottom. So we just want our plain white now. Now with our plain white, we have got the applique adhesive ironed onto the back to stabilise that, and also when we put our feet together, well, we'll just heat press them together. Now I have left the applique adhesive paper on. You can take it off, but I like to leave it on because sometimes your gluey area will stick to your mat. We actually probably could take it off on our mat because our mat is not quite so sticky, so I might take it off on this. But if you've got a real sticky mat, leave it on. That's a bit better. You will find your tape does start to become less sticky because you've got all the fur off the felt, so you may have to cut some new pieces. If you're on a new mat, be careful of the extreme stickiness with a new mat. All right, so now we will just, I'll just pop that foot up there. Actually, what I'm going to do is scan my mat first. In a minute. Just rotate you around. Pop you in there. Okay, I'm going to do a background scan again. All right, now we do have a gap here because our fabric is down here a bit. We are going to group these together. I'll just move that foot over a little bit. Group them all together. This is a great feature because I can then grabbing them at the bottom. Grabbing my flowers at the bottom as well, so we might have to delete our little flowers. Or we'll just move these down, I think, just to make it easy. Just move these down. Because I don't want to delete the flowers off the screen, so we'll just move everything down. And there we go. Okay, so we'll just go ahead now and we will cut these. Now because this is just an acrylic felt, if you didn't have that adhesive on the back, they would be very fluffy and furry and you would not have a nice clean cut edge. And also too, it gives a bit of stability to it. It is very different to using your merino wool felt. Alright, so here we have all our feet, hands and head. So we'll pop them aside. So the last bits we have to cut now will be our flowers. Alright, so we have our blue and we have our pinky colour flower. So you can see how nice and clean this cuts on our wool felt. So we need 2 blue flowers. Okay, so we'll just come back in here, put our screen back. And we can just pull those bits down there out of the way. You can delete them off the screen, but this is just a quick and easy way to do it. We'll push our flowers up and we will do a background screen here. Stick that down. Okay, now mat is really needs a nice good clean to get some of the stick back on it. So we will take this down well. Just give it a roll, make sure it's nice and firm. So I'll just delete that flower off and I'll just background scan that. Okay, so we just want 2 blue flowers. Okay. And there's our lovely blue flowers. Okay, so we'll just do our pink flowers now. And background scan again, and then we can probably run over my finger. Now we're going to draw in this mouth area here, okay, with the pen. Now what I did is we scanned this in and enlarged it up 40% so that it will be the right size. So we have put our face on here and we'll do a background scan, so that will now bring our face up. You could freehand draw this, but if you're not that great, and then with the mouthpiece here, just position it in place. Now I'm using the fine, ultra fine actually, Sharpie pen into the universal pen holder, which will go into here. Alright, now we will go across and select draw. And then it is going to be a little dotted line so that you can hand stitch it, or you can come across like we've done on our sample and draw over it. So this is a permanent marking pen. Alright, so there we go. We have our mouth marked. Now we can come along with the pen and fill in where we've got the gaps there. Alright, so you can hand stitch over that with your embroidery floss, which does give it a nice touch. Alright, now following our instructions here that come with it, the next step is to do the sewing part. Right. Now because we have used the felt with the vinyl, we do not need to sew along inside and turn it through. We're doing it the really easy way, and with the ears, as I said, you only need the one layer for the ears, as you can see on our rabbit, because we have our white back and we have our pink front. Okay, so to layer up the front here, because you've already got a seam allowance allowed, we are overlapping these pieces. I've used my backing piece here underneath and then position these over the top so that they are nice and even. It's roughly overlapping about 1/2 inch. And then with our Scotch Magic tape, you buy at the stationery, This is great stuff. Any of you ladies who are sewing should know about Scotch Magic tape, because you can sew through it and it just peels off. Great for your fabrics, because it will stick to fabric and just come off when you're done. So I'm going to tape these so I know exactly where they are and it won't move on me. Okay, alright, so there's my front pieces all lined up. There's the back, so you can see the overlapping. We will trim that back. Now, some extra feet that you will need for your sewing machine. When you're sewing on vinyls and things like that, you need a roller foot. It's got little rollers in it, so it will roll over and not put pressure down, and it won't stick and things like that. So a roller foot we are going to use, and then for the outside we're going to use an edge stitching foot. So first of all, I'll attach the roller foot to the machine, and I'm going to select a feather stitch. Thread down the hole with this foot. There's no slot in the front of this foot. So I'm going to select a feather stitch, which is mostly used for joining. Anyone who does a lot of sewing or patchwork will know what a feather stitch is. Okay, so I'm going to sew along over the edge here. This is great for joining pieces together, this stitch. It's also used a lot for crazy patchwork, so you patchwork ladies will know what this stitch is used for. Okay. Now that has moved because, for the simple reason, I didn't put my tape too far in from the edge. So you can see why we need to tape this and use that special foot closer over to the edge. So there was nothing for it to grab onto. Okay, so at the back we will trim this back like this. Just lay your scissors down, trim that back close to that stitching. So we've got rid of that bulk and it's nice and flat. So we can take this tape off now. I can see it. Bit hard to see the tape on the because it's transparent. One more piece to go.